Hello, sisters and brothers. This is Eddie Marcus, and I'm back again. Can't stay away. I mean, you heard that song. I can't stay away from you, yet I can't stay away from you. Though I know you're no good, and I'd leave you if I could, yet I can't stay away from you. No, no. Can't stay away from you, ladies and gentlemen. Look, I've been sharing some wonderful news with you. I've been talking about your liberation. I've been talking about your freedom. I've talked to you about my mission here to set you, the captives, free. And it sounds so wonderful, I know it does. But I don't want to deceive you by perhaps leaving some important information out. And that is, freedom ain't cheap. Okay, when you got it, then you act crazy because you lose your mind and you lose your freedom. But whoever you lose your freedom to, they're going to hang on to it with whatever they can. So in order to get their freedom back, there's a price you got to pay. So what I'm basically saying about that is this. Yes, what I have shared with you is absolutely true. But in order for you to get this freedom back from those who have stolen it, even though they didn't know what role they were playing in it, they probably, as I mentioned before, think God gave it to them. But here's the reality. Those guys and ladies who are around my age, you are somewhere in your 60s, headed to your 70s, you've lived a while. You got some idea of what's going on. The younger generations might have a little understanding, but not much. And why I'm saying this to you older guys is because those of you who live from the South, you know when Dr. King came through there, we had to pay some heavy prices. We had to stand up against dogs and fire hoses and people beating them upside the head with sticks, getting thrown in jails and put in prison, and being killed. All of that just for a right to vote? Wow. You remember those of you who lived in the cities? How you lived all in the ghettos, and people like those who lived in Chicago, Mayor Daley, didn't want to hear anybody coming there talking about some freedom, some liberation for you. I'm sure the same thing happened in California and other great big cities. It was the same thing. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, that same process would have to take place. It's a little different today, though, than what it was then. You see, then it was basically just a certain group of people. But now, there are a lot of people who are reaping rewards. There are a lot of people who are being paid to be quiet. For instance, today, many of your parents have 401ks. Many of your children got 401ks that you are depending on at a later date. And to come here taking a chance on somebody talking to you about freedom perhaps that you don't even believe in because you have accepted the fact that your freedom is in your future 401k or whatever you might have saved up or whatever your race might be. Think of the athletes who are receiving millions upon millions of dollars for playing basketball or football or golf or any kind of sport, boxing. These guys have got all kind of money. Even your children are paying, and some of you adults are paying $200, $300 for a pair of shoes with their names on it. You got black people in show business making all kinds of money. In entertainment, whether it's in the movies or whether it's recording songs or dancing, these guys are making their futures in that. Some of them have sold their souls just to get there. And now you come along talking about giving all that up for something that's better. They can't see it. And so your fight for your freedom today is going to be just as hard as it was yesterday. Think about the people in South Africa trying to get out of that shanty town, trying to get from under apartheid. You know, those people went through all kinds of stuff. They were slaughtered. Think about the people in Tiananmen Square, how the Chinese decided they were fed up with being oppressed and how they stood up, and the government came down and with tanks and stuff, it just moralized, didn't care. They wanted people to stay in and under bondage. Now, wherever you are today, whether you're in the United States or some other parts of the world, you can bet if you try to claim your freedom that God has given you, and God has given you an awakening so you know that you have been robbed, so you can know that God is with you, and you stand up, all hell gonna break loose. But for your old folks, whether you're there or here, you got nothing to lose. Most of us are on our deathbed anyway. And so we should stand up and lead the way for our children. Not push our children out there to do it for us. We should go out there, lead the way. And if anybody got to die for freedom and peace and prosperity and the fulfillment of dreams, let it be us old folk. Let us teach the younger generations. It's a magnificent thing to die for some beauty that we might miss, but those, our children, our grandchildren, might benefit from. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. What a wonderful, wonderful way to go. I say these things to you because I like living, but I guarantee you I don't like living well enough to ask somebody for a kidney, or ask somebody for a heart, or ask somebody for any organ that I can stay around here a little bit longer. In the hell that we live in, knowing what freedom we are entitled to, no way, Jose. If I can't have freedom, you guys can have all of this. It's not worth it. But I also would like to remind you older people, if you sit back on your lawns like you did yesterday and do nothing, you still gonna die. And our children, they're gonna get this mindset from us. And what are they gonna do? They're going to sit back on their lawns. But that evil one who is oppressing, who is doing everything they can to take control, to take power, to oppress, they're not going to let up. And one day here in America, you might see your own children get burned up with bombs, nuclear bombs. Remember, you heard about Nagasaki and things that happened in Japan and how they dropped the bombs. Maybe you haven't heard of the devastation, but there were a lot of devastation. Look at Iraq. Look at Syria. Anywhere that they're dropping bombs, they're burning people up. And there's no different burning up with a bomb that's bopped over you with fire than living in some hell pit that you have read about in a book. The thing about the hell pit that you read about in the book, you created it. You allowed the devil, you allowed the ignorance of other people to help to assist you in building that. So I'm saying to you, yes, it is a magnificent world. And all the things that I shared with you are absolutely true. They were true in the beginning, and they're true now. But between then and now, you have given it up. People have claimed it, and their mindset is that it belongs to them. They think they own the oil wells. They think they own all the resources in the earth that their name is on. They even think they own the land. And they think they have the right to make you work for wages in order to feed yourself, to house yourself, to clothe yourself, to have medical care for yourself, and then charge you on top of that extra. Boy, they are rough, aren't they? But ladies and gentlemen, still, you have the power. Now, when I talk to you about resisting, I'm not talking about force. That's their way. They go by force. Our way is to go by commitment, trusting and having faith in God. And I tell you, if they put the dogs on you again, every time a dog tries to bite you, you won't feel it. You'll feel the glory of God. Every time somebody tries to hit you side the head with a baseball bat or a brick, you won't actually feel it. I'm not saying it won't do damage to your body, but you will feel like you're one of the most precious people on earth. I know this, ladies and gentlemen, because I've been in prison. I stood up for you even when you didn't even know that I was doing it. I stood up for you when I didn't even know I was doing it. I called myself just standing up for right. I was in prison in the Philippines and I felt like a king. I was in prison in the United States of America in the year 2000. And I felt like I was the most precious individual on earth. These are things that the Spirit gives you. You can't take that away. I was in prison on the day of my release. I was wondering, what was I coming back out here in this society for? A society that is dead. So I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, change your mind. Open up your heart. Allow the Spirit of love to come in. Allow God to come in. And they can't defeat you. I do not care what they do. And if this were not true, I wouldn't tell you. But it is. So believe. Until next time, this is Eddie Marcus saying, freedom ain't cheap, but it's worth it.